Pat Haden joins us on Sports Byline, USC Trojans athletic director. And, of course, he was the quarterback at USC when they won 2 national championships. He also led USC to 3 Rose Bowl appearances along with those 2 national championships. Pat, I've known you for a long time, and, of course, you were a broadcaster. You seem comfortable in that role. I would have never thought that you might become the athletic director anywhere, and if you were, probably at USC. But what made you go in this direction?
Well, Ron, it was not on my radar screen. I really didn't have this as a job that I ever thought I would be doing, to be perfectly honest. But there was a change in administration. A new president came in, and he asked me to consider it. I actually said no a couple times because I was very happy doing what I was doing. And it was actually my wife, Ron, who convinced me. I'm 57 years old, and she said, "Hey, this would be a great change of pace for you, a new challenge. I think you'd have some fun with it." And so, when I got her support, I went back to the president and said, "Hey, let's talk." And then next thing you know, he was very convincing, and here I am.
It's one thing to be intrigued with a job, but, you're a smart guy, and when you start breaking it down and thinking about it and what the likelihood is of you being successful and being able to help out your alma mater, there's a reality that has to set in. So take me through the thought process that made Pat Haden comfortable with becoming the athletic director.
Well, I knew there were going to be challenges, Ron. I mean, even without the NCAA sanctions, it's you're in an economy that's in a recession. There's the California economy itself has had its own issues and problems. So you knew there was going to be some development issues, and then you put on top of that the NCAA cloud. I knew there was going to be there is going to be some challenging times, but it's interesting. It's going to be an interesting challenge. I've had challenges my whole life. I've met most of them. I've got a good group of people with whom I'm working here, and so I'm determined to have some fun. This is sports. This is athletics, and we do it really well here at USC. We've got some great student athletes, just some wonderful kids, and I'm going to enjoy the excellence around here.
What sense do you have of the problems that USC had, why they happened?
Well, I think we could always do things better around here, Ron, but on the other hand, you can't put a fence around student-athletes 24/7. These are college kids. When they leave our practice field and our classrooms, we don't know where they are. So we've got to do a much better job of educating them, recruiting quality kids with character, and then having the best compliance department we can possibly have to make sure that we don't stub our toe again. So, it's a daunting task, but there's no doubt we can and should do it better.
It's kind of interesting, Pat. I hear you say that, and I think everybody wants to be able to do that. But you know as well as I do that coaches, in the bottom analysis, they're going to be judged on W's and L's. And if there's a talented kid out there, but maybe there's some question about his character or his ability to handle big-time sports, they're probably going to go on the talented side. What type of position do coaches find themselves in today when they come up with that kind of dichotomy?
Well, you're right. It's a tremendous box we've put coaches in because on the one hand, we say, hey, we want you to run a program full of integrity, and we want you to graduate all your players, and, oh, yeah, by the way, you better win every week and certainly beat State U, your rival. And so it's a very difficult box. And so what we try to create here is, and what we're going to try to create here, or continue here actually, is not, we always want to win. We want to win Pac-10 championships. We want to win national championships. But we want to do it in the right way, within the rules, and it's not mutually exclusive. Too many schools have done it that way, and USC has done it that way for many years.
What do you find is the difference in the atmosphere when Pat Haden was playing quarterback at USC, just academically and athletically, as compared to today with the pressures that you just talked about?
Ron, it's a completely different environment. It was 35 years ago or so that I played. The school wasn't as good academically, and the athletics weren't, the athletes weren't anything like what they are today. So I would have had a much more difficult time competing in the classroom, although I'm sure I would have done okay. But on the athletic field, I couldn't play. I couldn't play. I was too small, too slow, didn't have lots of the qualities that you need in a quarterback today at USC.
I also think that a lot of programs that have been successful, Pat, get kind of I guess, corralled by that success. That becomes the measuring stick, and anything less than that, you can't have an off year or a rebuilding year. Is that the case with USC because of, especially in football, the success that they had?
Well, we've had cycles here at USC. I mean, before Pete Carroll came, we had a long, extended cycle of not terribly good football, an occasional Rose Bowl. But the run that Pete Carroll had here for 7 or 8 years was rather remarkable and hard to come by. Very few schools have been able to do that for that long. We're certainly going to try to have a great run, but boy, it's tough. I mean, there's lots of good teams out there. The Pac-10 has gotten much better over the last few years. So we've got our challenges ahead of us, but I think we've got the right coach and the right staff and the right geography to make a good run.
I think off of what you said about the type of football player you were, Pat, that there probably wasn't somebody coming forward and saying, hey, let me give you some money, sign with me down the road, let me help you out a little bit. What type of pressure are these kids under today if they happen to be talented?
Well, pressure is probably the wrong word. I mean, they're tempted. But again, what we're trying to educate our kids, and I'm going to meet with all our team on our seniors on Sunday to just talk just about this. Hey, don't do this and put your school in jeopardy. If Reggie Bush were able to come on a campus and were able to talk to our team, he would say that too. I wish I wouldn't have done it. I wish I would have done things right. And so I don't want these guys regretting that and putting the school in further jeopardy. And I don't think, I think we've got the kind of quality guys where we're not going to have that problem going forward.
Were you happy to see Reggie give back the Heisman Trophy?
I think it was the right thing to do.
And why do you think it was the right thing to do?
Well, I just, I've said that actually for quite some time. I mean, I think the NCAA sanctions, and if you look at the sanction report, which is a public document now, you can make your own judgment on that. I'm not, but I just think it was the right thing to do at this time, and I think Reggie ultimately felt that way. We as a university sent ours back too.
Pat, I have a friend of mine who used to be the associate athletic director at Stanford, and we were having dinner last weekend, and we were talking about you, and he had some very glowing things to say about you. He said, but one of the things that he said he found when he tried to consider maybe becoming a full athletic director at a school, he says that it really has gotten away from athletics and it's become more fundraising. Indeed, is that the case? Do you have to go around and really start, raising more money? And is that primarily the job of the athletic director today, do you think?
No, it's not. It's not. It is certainly a part of it. I would say it's 25% of the job, but the biggest part of the job is making sure your student athletes, and we have 600 of them here, are having a full, robust college experience and being able to compete at the high levels. That's the biggest part of the job, the most important part of the job, I think.
What happened with the basketball and the football teams? How badly did that taint the image of USC, do you think?
Well, I went to school here, as you know, so nobody likes to see their alma mater tainted in that regard. It is what it is. The NCAA has penalized this, and their rules. We're ultimately going to have an appeal, but whatever falls out of the appeal, we will live with. We'll be better for it, and then we're going to get the other side of this, the sanctions. People keep talking about the sanctions, but there is, that other side that we will get there. We're looking forward to it, and we're going to be hopefully better for it.
We got 90 seconds left, Pat, but when you take a look at this job and you taking it on, what do you think is going to be the hardest part for Pat Haden?
Well, I think relieving coaches of their duties is very difficult. It's not really in my nature. Although in my old job I used to have to replace CEOs, not with a great deal of regularity, but some. But I think these are good, hardworking people who have the university in their best interest, but sometimes you just have to make changes. That's the job. We want really, really talented people working in the athletic department. We want really talented coaches working with their teams. But sometimes it just doesn't work out, and you have to make changes. That's the least favorite part of the job.
Do you think coaches have a shelf life? I mean, that after a while they either need to step away and kind of refresh themselves, or really you need to change the direction of the program just to keep it fresh itself going forward?
Well, it's a difficult job. It's like being president of a university and being a head coach at a major program, football or basketball, because it's 24/7. It's recruiting, it's donors, it's the coaches sleep here, football coaches sleep here 2 or 3 nights a week. It is a hard job. and then relying on 18-year-olds to say yes to you wooing them. I don't know if there's a shelf life, but sometimes these guys really need to get away from it and reboot, and it's becoming more and more difficult to do so.
In about 20 seconds, your personal favorite football moment.
Oh, I would say, when I was in college here, we beat Notre Dame. We were down 24-0. We came back to beat Notre Dame and ultimately won a national championship that year. So that was kind of a fun time.
Pat, thank you very much for your time. Good luck down there. I think you're going to do a great job.
Thank you very much, Ron.
Pat Haden, the USC Trojans athletic director, and of course he certainly is familiar with the campus and the history of the football program down there because he was the quarterback at USC when they won 2 national championships. He led the USC Trojans to 3 Rose Bowl appearances along with those 2 national championships. He also went on to play 6 years in the National Football League with the Los Angeles Rams. We'll take a break as we continue with more of you and Sports Byline.